The imperial eggs are Fabergé's most well-known creation. The celebrated series of 50 imperial Easter eggs were created for the Russian imperial family from 1885 to 1916, when the company was run by Peter Carl Fabergé. These creations are inextricably linked to the glory and tragic fate of the last Romanovs. They were the ultimate achievement of the renowned Russian jewelry house, and must also be considered the last great commissions of objets d'art. 10 eggs were produced from 1885 to 1893, during the reign of Emperor Alexander III, and you can learn more about his wife, the Dowager Empress, on this channel. 40 more imperial eggs were created during the rule of Tsar Nicholas II, 2 produced each year, one for his mother, the Dowager Empress, the second for his wife, the Empress of Russia. The series began in 1885 when Emperor Alexander III, through the intermediary of his uncle, Grand Duke Vladimir, commissioned an Easter egg from Fabergé as an Easter present for his wife, Empress Maria Fyodorovna. Initially planned by Fabergé to contain a diamond ring, the actual finished version, following specific instructions of the emperor, included a ruby pendant. After the first commission, Fabergé was bestowed goldsmith by special appointment to the imperial crown, and the legend continued over 31 years. According to Fabergé family tradition, the company was given complete freedom in the imperial Easter eggs. Not even the emperor knew what form they would take. The only stipulation provided was that each egg should contain a surprise. Surprises included miniature paintings, mechanical trains that moved, and additional jewels. Fabergé created many beautiful objects for the imperial family. You can learn about his enamel picture frames in the Grand Duchess Olga video on this channel. One item Fabergé made that remains mysterious is the egg pendant. Egg pendants were given on the birthdays of a Russian child as well as upon their baptism. They were worn as charms on necklaces. Dozens of Fabergé egg pendants have surfaced over the past few decades. Could all of these pendants have belonged to the Russian imperial family with their many birthdays? Maybe, but it seems unlikely. Fabergé counted the Vanderbilt family, among many others, among his customers. Fabergé records, including imperial orders, were destroyed during the Zionist Bolshevik Revolution of 1918. We can identify Fabergé by initials of his workmen left on gold and silver pieces. So let's learn more about the Fabergé egg pendants. Fabergé egg pendants seem to appear in certain styles. The oldest Fabergé egg pendant to date is from 1885, and it features a solid red enamel egg, a helmet, and a bird wearing the Russian imperial crown. This is the Patriotic series of pendants, which feature the double-headed eagle and Catherine the Great. In 1890, Fabergé created the Fastovets Railroad commemorative pendant, commemorating that railroad's completion in 1876, whereupon it was used to transport wheat and sugar across Russia. And so Fabergé was highly attuned to Russian events, no matter how perceivably mundane. The Patriotic series of pendants continues with Red Cross pendants, ostensibly through World War I. Anchors also start to appear in 1895 and continue through 1917. We know from Grand Duchess Olga Romanov's authorized memoir that the imperial family handed out Easter eggs to their entire staff every Easter. But beyond that, there isn't much detail. Did she mean Fabergé pendants were handed out as Easter eggs? If so, anchor pendants would have been a natural option for the crew of the Standard yacht. The next series is the solid guilloché pendants. Ranging in color from red to green to apricot in later years, these eggs start to appear in 1899. Guilloché is a decorative technique in which a very precise, intricate, and repetitive pattern is mechanically engraved into a material via engine turning, which uses a machine of the same name. Engine turning machines may include the Rose engine lathe and also the straight line engine. This mechanical technique improved on more time consuming designs achieved by hand and allowed for greater delicacy, precision, and closeness of line, as well as greater speed. Fabergé's expertise allowed him to showcase his workman's machinery and steady hands. The design appears most frequently on enamel. In a photograph of Grand Duchess Anastasia, we seem to see a light-colored guilloché pendant around her neck. The Grand Duchesses wore white dresses in summer, and the pendant looks to be the same color as her dress. The next series is the stripe pendants, which we start to see around the year 1900. Featuring brightly colored paint and almost circus tent colors and designs, these eggs contain stripes going in multiple directions. In 1900, we also see jeweled case pendants. First appearing to hold a moonstone, these intricate designs have continued with modern day Fabergé egg pendants, which replicate the gold and diamond cases. Forestry and Animals is our next series. A spiderweb design appears on a golden pendant from 1899 through 1903. A carved pig with a cigar in its mouth appears in 1890, a birthday gift for Nicholas II perhaps, who smoked. Grand Duchess Maria was also born in 1899, the year of the pig according to the Chinese zodiac, and so questions are raised as to whether the Imperial Russian family knew about such Chinese custom. Carved rabbits appear repeatedly from 1899 until 1908 and must have been a popular Easter symbol pendant. Grand Duchess Tatiana, born in 1897, had the Chinese zodiac year of the rooster. We see eggs painted with chickens and one mother hen pendant. Could each Grand Duchess have received a chick pendant? The mother hen is painted with 4 eggs, for 4 Grand Duchesses perhaps. Birds were a very popular motif in these egg pendants, and we see the same carving of a bird on a swing repeated from 1908 through 1917, perhaps upon request. Empress Alexandra, born in 1872, had the Chinese zodiac year of the monkey. Could this baboon have been for her? Elephants appear repeatedly in the Fabergé egg pendants starting in 1890, which is interesting because elephants are not native to Russia. But the imperial family did have a pet elephant at Tsarskoye Selo. This elephant supposedly belonged to the Tsarevich, Alexei, who was born in 1904. Visiting the elephant was obligatory as part of the education for every Romanov Grand Duke. Tsar Nicholas II loved to bathe the elephant, and he repeatedly recorded his visits to the elephant in his diary. Could he have commissioned pendants to keep the elephant with him? For example, in one of his diary entries from June 1914, he wrote, "I brought Alexei's elephant to our pond, and we had such fun watching it swim." The first Tsarskoye Selo elephant appeared in the early 19th century, but due to lack of proper conditions for the animal, it soon died. Later on, an eastern ruler, potentially India, gifted another elephant to the imperial children, and it was housed in a specially constructed Indian elephant pavilion in the Alexander Park. This elephant was very good-natured and earned affection among all his visitors. The only complaints were from the park ranger, that the animal ate 2 pounds of wheat pancakes fried in pure butter daily. Unfortunately, this last Romanov family pet elephant shared the same tragic fate as the imperial owners. He was shot by the revolutionary soldiers in 1917. The elephant may have been shot not out of cruelty, but to save it from a painful death from starvation. Elephant pendants were created by Fabergé right through 1917. Bugs appear as pendants starting in the year 1900. Picnic basket pendants appear as well. Unsurprisingly, floral motifs were very popular, and Fabergé designed flowers as gems or paintings starting in 1895 on the eggs. This series lasted until the very end of the Fabergé workshop. We also see potentially matching brooches with the floral eggs. In 1900, we start to see flags painted on these pendants, including the British and Finnish flags. This is not surprising due to Empress Alexandra's beloved grandmother, the British Queen Victoria, and the fact that the Romanov family vacationed in Finland every summer. Central jewel pendants start to appear in 1895. In these, we see the cleverness of the Fabergé workshop, that a simple gemstone could be inserted, such as a peridot, into a plain white enamel egg for a statement piece. Elevated designs could then appear by adding gold, ribbons, and additional enamel. We also see additions of turquoise, termed turquoise drop, on the bottoms of eggs. So this was a series that could be fine-tuned for different customers. The Dangle series features hard stones and begins in 1899. Occasionally, diamond or gold tops are added to these pieces, which heavily feature the stone. Unique stones, such as moss agate, reflecting the view of a forest, were also used. 1895, we start to see a mosaic egg pendant, a solid gold or silver egg covered in jewels. The mosaic imperial egg was made in 1914, and so it's possible these egg pendants inspired that ultimate design. In 1900, we see the external band pendants, which showcase designs around the entire egg. This series lasted all the way until 1917. In 1899, we see the Art Nouveau painted pendants featuring interesting shapes and geometric patterns. In 1890, Fabergé decided to suspend the egg pendant from a different angle, and we see the tilted egg pendants with jeweled bands. In 1900 comes the cross pendants. The way these designs are sometimes identical but different, save for coloring and different gems, raises questions as to whether they were provided to each Grand Duchess or other members of the royal family and changed slightly to accommodate siblings. In 1899, we see the surreal hard-boiled egg design, where each gold pendant looks like a sliced hard-boiled egg. In a photograph of Grand Duchess Tatiana standing next to her sister, Grand Duchess Olga, we can see a sort of white outline to a darker circular middle in her pendant. Is she wearing a hard-boiled egg pendant? The next series is the jeweled top, where the eggs contain a jeweled top, sometimes in the form of a snake and sometimes in the form of inset diamonds. This series appeared in 1890 and continued until 1917. The next series is that of external jewels, where jewels extend out of the egg surface. Turquoise, rubies, sapphires, pearls, and diamonds are all featured here. One has to remember not all Russian jewelry was able to be maintained after the Russian Revolution, so there are a lot of pieces that could be missing. This series began in 1890 and continued until at least 1908. A hobby series of pendants are perhaps some of the most interesting. A musical score appeared on a gold pendant produced between 1904 and 1912. Grand Duchess Olga was a skilled pianist and played piano even at the House of Special Purpose before her death. All of the Grand Duchesses and Empress Alexandra sang. In 1897, Grand Duke Mikhail Alexandrovich and Grand Duchess Olga Romanov had a piano piece dedicated to them by the composer Caesar Q. So there was a lot of music in the Romanov household. A pendant with card symbols also appears, and we know the Romanov family played cards regularly, as does one with a wax sealer from 1900. Prince Alexei loved playing with red wax, and melted red wax from his pockets was found at the Romanov death and burn site in the 2000s. The pudding stone pendant of 1890 is also noteworthy because pudding stone deposits have been known in England for centuries. So is it possible that this stone came from England or the resources of Queen Victoria's family? In 1909, when the imperial family visited the Isle of Wight, a photograph was taken. In it, we see Grand Duchess Olga and Grand Duchess Anastasia seemingly wearing Fabergé egg pendants. Grand Duchess Olga's egg pendant is darker colored in its bottom than its top. Was the top of the egg a reflective metal that would make it lighter, or was it just lighter? It's hard to tell, but the middle band series of Fabergé egg pendants may have a match. These eggs feature a central or lower band around them, often full of diamonds or gold. There are only 4 eggs that have been seen publicly that match the description of Grand Duchess Olga's. One red, white, and blue, the colors of Russia, with a blue bottom and beads around its center. One red, white, and blue with a blue gold top and a red bottom. One striped white and blue on top with a diamond band, and another gold with turquoise on its bottom. Grand Duchess Anastasia also appears to be wearing one of her birthday or baptism pendants in 1909. In a photograph from the Mauve Room, Grand Duchess Anastasia appears to be wearing a pendant with a solid line across its middle. A repeat collection of enamel eggs with a golden laurel leaf central band appears from Fabergé in the 1890s. In colors of purple, blue, white, gold, and red, it's possible each Grand Duchess was given one of these. Last but not least is the Acorn series of pendants. These pendants are sculpted as acorns with golden tops and tapered sides. We see Grand Duchess Maria seemingly wearing an acorn pendant with very tapered sides. The only match of this seems to be a red pendant with miniature pearls across its golden top, as well as an all gold acorn pendant. We also see Grand Duchess Olga in a possible flipped pendant or brooch, which appears to be in an acorn shape. Which Fabergé egg pendant series is your favorite?